And now what the U.S. president is looking for is for Hamas to sign as well. He believes that this is something that will achieve what he says is 3,000 years of an end to 3,000 years of conflict, and that it will finally, in his words, bring peace to the Middle East. So this is the U.S. president essentially putting pressure on Hamas to come to a decision.
Despite no longer having an official role in the White House, Jared Kushner is increasingly becoming more entrenched in his ties to the Middle East, particularly Saudi Arabia. Kushner is also reportedly aiding peace talks to end Israel's war in Gaza. His behind-the-scenes influence in Middle East peace talks reflects his advisory role from the first Trump administration. Kushner served as the primary architect of the Abraham Accords between Israel and several Arab states. Saudi Arabia, which was not included in the initial treaties, said it won't normalize diplomatic relations with Israel unless a Palestinian state is formed. Since the Abraham Accords were signed in 2020, Kushner has expanded his business portfolio in partnership with Saudi Arabia. Kushner's private equity firm, Affinity Partners, received a $2 billion investment from Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund following his time in the White House. Last year, Kushner defended his Saudi ties and stood by the Crown Prince despite the foreign leader's involvement in ordering the 2018 murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. While Kushner has stepped away from the public spotlight, he has remained open to advising Trump, as evidenced by his involvement in the Gaza peace deal.
There are some indications, though, that it has jeopardized one of President Trump's legacy achievements, the Abraham Accords. You had the UAE, which normalized relations with your country under President Trump's first term, calling the strikes a grave breach of international law and the UN Charter, an irresponsible escalation that threatens regional and international peace and security. Are you saying that eradicating Hamas is more important than the Abraham Accords?
No, I think the Abraham Accords brokered by President Trump with me and the leader of the UAE, I think they've been remarkably resilient and strong. We've been now through 2 years of war, and they've held up very well. We've got commerce going both ways. We've got Israelis just going back and forth to the Gulf states. We have cooperation between our two countries. It's very strong, and I think that the defeat of the Iran terror axis and the defeat of Hamas and the ending of the hostage situation in Gaza will improve it even further. I think there are many possibilities for peace, which I'm discussing with President Trump and his team, and we plan to seize them. I think you'll see that not only are the Abraham Accords not endangered, they'll be expanded to other countries.
I think we have a screen. We'll pop it up as we start talking on the buyers. The Saudis are involved, sovereign wealth fund. Yep. It's a huge private equity deal, I think biggest ever. Affinity Partners, that's Kushner, right? Jared Kushner.
Yeah, that's important.
Silver Lake as well. Talk about this. What do you make of it?
So this, first of all, maybe don't care about business, maybe don't care about video games. This is the biggest buyout of a public company ever.
Ever, yeah.
By the tune of probably $20 billion. The last big deal was probably the biggest, next was probably $35 billion. So $55 billion is huge. And so to see the Saudis come in and buy this company, to buy Electronic Arts, probably the best gaming company out there. It's had a rough time.
How did the White House decide that it is appropriate for Jared Kushner to be working on matters that involve Qatar, the UAE, and Saudi Arabia, three countries that combined have given him more than $2.5 billion for his investment firm?
I think it's frankly despicable that you're trying to suggest that it's inappropriate for Jared Kushner, who is widely respected around the world, and has great trust in relationships with these critical partners in these countries, to strike a 20-point comprehensive detailed peace plan that no other administration would ever be able to achieve. And so Jared is donating his energy and his time to our government, to the President of the United States, to secure world peace. And that is a very noble thing. And this is a peace plan that has not just been accepted by Israel, but it has been applauded by Muslim and Arab countries around the world. It has been applauded by European leaders around the world. Virtually everyone in the world is supportive of this plan that Jared Kushner offered his time to help put together alongside our special envoy Witkoff. the Vice President, the President of the United States, Secretary Rubio, and the President's entire national security team. We are very proud of that plan, and we hope Hamas will accept it because it will lead to a more peaceful and prosperous Middle East.
I mean, just this Monday, we learned that Jared Kushner's private equity firm has teamed up with Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund for the largest private equity buyout ever, buying the video game company EA Games for $55 billion. That, of course, comes on top of the $2 billion Saudi Arabia has already invested in Kushner's private equity fund and the $1.5 billion Kushner got from the UAE and Qatar late last year.
Well, we've been here before, Hal, with Hamas, glimmers of hope on negotiations, ceasefires. Is this time different, especially after that threat that if a deal isn't accepted by Sunday, then Hamas will face a, quote, hell like it has never seen?
Sure, we have been here before, but this is different. This is the first time a U.S. president, whether Biden or Trump, has actually dictated terms to the Prime Minister, to Prime Minister Netanyahu, saying, look, stop the bombing.
I hear from the Western leaders. They tell me, the PA promised us it will reform. Yeah, right. Giving the Palestinians a state 1 mile from Jerusalem after October 7th is like giving Al-Qaeda a state 1 mile from New York City after September 11th. This is sheer madness. It's insane, and we won't do it.
Is that still a red line for you?
Yeah, I haven't changed my positions, and I think that the credibility or the likelihood of the things, a reformed Palestinian Authority that changes completely its stripes, that accepts a Jewish state, that teaches its children to embrace coexistence and friendship with the Jewish state rather than living their lives in order to annihilate it.
What I want to say is, in the end, the Arab and the Islamic countries, when they worked with the American side, we put all our efforts into preserving the rights of the Palestinian people to remain on their land and achieve the two-state solution. And we put these matters on the table in line with international legitimacy decisions. Of course, we did not expect them to accept everything, but some were taken into account. I believe we must build on this path and work to make this path effective and successful.
لجعل هذا المسار مسار فعال وناجح.
And now to the other major story tonight, the update in the Israel-Hamas war. Hamas agrees to free the remaining Israeli hostages ahead of President Trump's deadline this weekend.
And the move putting the two closer to a possible peace deal.
South Florida Representative Maria Salazar thanked Trump, writing the hostages are finally coming home. Families who have suffered in silence, who have prayed in fear, can at last embrace their loved ones. It follows the president's new deadline for Hamas to sign a U.S.-brokered peace plan that called for the immediate return of those held by the militant group and a U.S.-led international effort to dismantle and replace the Hamas government or face consequences, with Trump writing all hell like no one has ever seen before will break out against Hamas.
The president has made it very clear to Hamas that this is an acceptable and detailed proposal that they must accept, or the consequences are going to be very grave for them.
It comes after the commander-in-chief hosted Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Monday,
for peace in the Middle East,
where they announced a proposal to end the war in Gaza, with the Palestinian government in the West Bank saying they welcome the peace plan and to work towards a modern, democratic, non-militarized Palestinian state.
This is a very special day, maybe unprecedented in many ways. It is unprecedented, but thank you all, and thank you all to those great countries that helped.
And those countries include Jordan, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia, as Hamas prepares to enter into high-level negotiations after saying they are ready tonight to hand over power.
Follows last month's Israeli strike in Doha, targeting a Hamas negotiating team. Here's part of that order signed by Trump. It says it is the policy of the United States to guarantee the security and territorial integrity of the state of Qatar against external attack. The United States shall regard any armed attack on the territory, sovereignty, or critical infrastructure of the state of Qatar as a threat to the peace and security of the United States. In the event of such an attack, the United States shall take all lawful and appropriate measures, including diplomatic, economic, and, if necessary, military, to defend the interests of the United States and the state of Qatar, to restore peace and stability.